The awesome competition package returns to the Audi RS5 and RS5 Sportback here for the 2024 model year. And this year it's actually about $6,000 more affordable. It's cheaper thanks to the fact that you can't get the carbon ceramic brakes that you were able to get last year. For some reason it's not available here this year on the RS5s, but it's an awesome package. If you missed when it came out last year, basically it gives you coilover suspension, aggressive sway bars, and a sport exhaust. It removes 18 pounds of sound deadening. It just basically makes the RS5 and the RS5 Sportback here a lot more aggressive and a little more raw than before. And with that manually adjustable suspension, you can actually lower this vehicle almost a full inch. It's 0.8 of an inch lower for this versus a regular RS5 Sportback. And so it gives it this even meaner, more hunkered down look than it even had already. And it looks fantastic here in this Sebring black color for 2024 as well. And I love these wheels. These wheels are showstoppers. I mean, like, man, you roll up with these wheels, they are just so nice with the polished edges to them and the black. It just looks so sweet. And obviously RS5s in general just look really menacing and aggressive without being over the top and having everyone stare at you like you might get with the BMWs and stuff with their very polarizing design. This flies under the radar, I think, but still makes a statement. If you know what it is, you're impressed. For everyone else, it's just a black Audi, and I think that a lot of Audi drivers like it that way. But you know, otherwise, one of the other unique things here for the competition package is you have matte carbon fiber accents both there on the front bumper, you have it on the mirror caps, and you also have matte black exhaust tips there on that sport exhaust in the back as well. And I always liked not only just the RS5, I was blown away by the RS5 this generation when it first came out. I basically said that it was a more luxurious GTR for the same money or less money than a GTR. And I think with the RS5 Sportback, it retains all those same great qualities while still giving you this Sportback functionality here. You have the hatch, which is way more versatile than, you know, an M3 or something like that. And it's a really cool combo, and I love that Audi offers this. The interior of the RS5 Sportback Competition is basically the same as any other RS5 or even S5 for that matter, very, very similar. And my wife and I just did a full in-depth interior review a couple years ago on the S5 Sportback, so I will link that video at the end of this one if you want to hear all the details on this interior. I won't get into all that here, but you know, typical Audi goodness here with these seats that are awesome with the adjustable bolstering, the massage, although unfortunately they don't have cooling for these seats with the quilting and the Alcantara you have here, just heated, and they're not even perforated, so they get kind of hot in the summer. I will say that I don't love that about these seats, but otherwise they're great. You have some red stitching here, you have the red seat belts that you get here, and you know, a few little touches for the competition thing. So it's a very nice interior. I've always loved these new Audi interiors. They're really, really impressive. The only thing I don't love though is that now on this touchscreen, it's great you have a touchscreen now. They got rid of the controller wheel a couple years ago, but this screen now, either this year or last year, added in this new Alexa integration. There's this new like home page that's just a mess as far as the user interface and not very well laid out, but thankfully you can swipe over one and you get back to the traditional Audi menus that you're used to, that are clear, concise, easy to understand. So I'm glad they retained that. I was nervous when I first saw that pop up. I'm like, ah, crap, they screwed up the infotainment system, but they didn't. It still has all the other usual stuff. Still has wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto. All good as far as that goes. You still have the awesome 3D Bang & Olufsen stereo. This interior is just such a nice place to be. But let's start up and go for a drive. The RS5 Sportback here has the same great RS key as other RS models. It's a really nice key. Pretty thin, just the metal buttons there on it. And overall, I really like this key. But of course, there's keyless access, keyless entry, and push button start. So you just leave the key in your pocket, hit the engine start button, and it starts right up. All right, so setting off here in the RS5 Sportback Competition. So the first thing you notice about this, well, you know, same great visibility as any other RS5 Sportback. Nice thin A-pillars, very easy to drive. You feel like you're sitting nice and low in this vehicle too, which is awesome. And the other things you might pick up on pretty early on is that coilover suspension, which does have manual adjustments for the compression, the rebound, and the height there. And so it is definitely firmer. Now you lose that nice adaptive damper that you get in the regular RS5s and RS5 Sportbacks, but you know, it's not bad for a coilover. I mean, a lot of coilovers are actually pretty comfortable, but you know, it's not quite as extreme as you might be expecting or worried about. And you know, it's not bad, but it is firmer than what I remember, you know, from RS5 in the past, and especially compared to the S5 Sportback that I reviewed a couple of years ago. But again, it's not the end of the world. I think personally, if you're just looking for a fast daily driver, you know, I think Cliff Notes, you could probably skip the competition package. It's cool, but for some people it might be a little more hardcore than you want for a daily, but you know, it's still totally doable. And I mean, it's tempting just for these sweet forged wheels alone. But other things here about the RS5: throttle response is great, brakes feel nice and beefy. You have 14.8-inch rotors in the front, 13 in the rear, 6-piston calipers in the front too. So I mean, even though they're not carbon ceramics this year, still should be plenty stout brakes, and of course you can do your own brake upgrades if you actually plan to track this vehicle. But yeah, I think they're going to be totally fine for most people, and you save about $6,000 or so too, which is certainly nice. Other things though, so they did remove about 18 pounds of sound deadening from around the firewall area in particular. So that was designed to, you know, give this engine more emotion, help you to feel more of it and hear more of it. Thankfully, it's still really nice and quiet in here. It's not like they strip all the sound deadening out altogether. You know, it still is a quiet, refined Audi. You know, haven't been hearing any unnecessary sounds or sounds that I don't want to be hearing. Just you do hear a little more. Like, I just heard the turbo there for a split second. I think you do hear more, and so I really appreciate, you know, that change. I think it's really, really cool. You also get more sound from this sport exhaust you get. Also, steering feels great. You have the Audi direct steer, so instead of the variable rates you often get with other Audis, it's the direct one here. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and put it up into the RS1 mode. RS2 is, I have it set up to be a little bit softer, but RS1 has everything in its sportiest setting. And so yeah, let's turn down onto this back road here and see how it does. Here we go. Nice and responsive, and then it really takes off. Oh, and it sounds so good too. Yeah, these things are beasts. They definitely feel faster than the numbers suggest, because, you know, on paper this is down on power a good bit compared to like the M3 and M4 competition. So it's the 2.9 liter twin turbo V6 engine. It does 444 horsepower, 443 pound-feet of torque. No power bump for this you know, competition package here in this, but it's still plenty fast, and Audi claims a 0.1 second faster 0 to 60 time than a regular RS5 Sportback. So these typically are 3.8 seconds. So that's the official claim from Audi, but Car and Driver actually got a 3.3 seconds 0 to 60 with these, and that feels more in line with how this feels. It is very impressive, especially if you launch it, which we will try out here in a minute. But even just as far as the regular acceleration, the car is now asking me what Audi can do for me because I said the name. But that's all it can do for me, is just give me more of that amazing goodness with this engine. It is so punchy. With the competition package here, you also have a higher top speed now of 180 miles per hour. So they removed the limiter. It's getting some crackles and pops out of that exhaust as well, which is great. We will go ahead and try some manual shifts now and briefly see how that does. It's instant. I love the way that Audi does. I believe it's the ZF 8-speed, but it's just instant with these shifts. It's you know, an 8-speed automatic, and it just feels so good. You get those crackles and pops there, little burps on the upshift. They just do such a good job with these Audis. I've been a big fan of all these Audis, especially the S and the RS models. Every single one of them is amazing to me. So well done. And like I said, I was really blown away by the RS5 Coupe a few years back. And now, coming up some corners here, let's see how the Sportback handles. We also have these racier Pirelli P0 Corsa tires, 275 wide, really beefy tires here. And I mean, it's totally flat. You also have the Audi torque vectoring rear diff, which is a really cool diff that does allow you to get some, you know, a little bit of a happy tail happy back end out of this. But yeah, it pulls you right through, so it feels a little less tail happy than the Coupe I did a few years back. Supposedly they've retuned this diff to be a little less tail happy, which I'm kind of sad about because I really liked the more tail happy nature before. But this is still really happy to rotate and does not feel like a front heavy vehicle, even though it is, you know. It feels really neutral, tons of grip, and yeah, no hint of understeer. It just grips and goes. We will see whenever we are accelerating uphill, but downhill especially, totally fine. But yeah, that diff of course does all of its magic whenever you're, you know, on the gas and trying to apply the power, going uphill and accelerating and things like that. But and you know, went over a couple of bumps there, and you know, totally fine as far as that goes too. Not uncomfortable in the slightest. But we have a little bit of a drizzle that's just started, but I'm going to try and do a quick little launch here. All right. Man! It didn't say anything about launch control ready. I just brake torqued it the old-fashioned way, but man, yeah, this thing took off. Yeah, I can totally believe, you know, 3-some seconds 0 to 60 for sure. Whew, yep, these Audis are great. Man, I love this all drive system. Just does such a great job here, even in the, you know, slight wet here. And I love the way these motors sound. I mean, people don't really give these motors enough credit. I know that, you know, for some people it might not be as exciting as some of the others, or it's just not as much power, so you just assume it's not as exciting, but I think these things don't get enough credit, to be totally honest. I think it sounds great. Sure, I could always use more sound, and this is all but its loudest setting. I could use more for sure, but it's totally fine the way it is. I think it's, you know, again, it's that classy kind of superhero in a suit kind of deal with this, especially in black. And I think that it's a different vibe than a lot of the others, and I really like that about this car. All right, we got some more corners here coming up, and see how this does uphill. Yeah, it's amazing how it just does everything you want it to do. There is no holdbacks, no limitations. It's just point and shoot, and it just goes and goes and goes. And yeah, it is amazing handling. And all fairness, I have not driven the main competitors, the M3 or M4 competition or the Alfa Romeo Giulia Quadrifoglio, so I cannot, you know, really compare to those. But yeah, it is so much fun. And also I like that it's a little lighter feeling than some of the bigger RS models. You know, it feels a little lighter on its feet than like an RS6 Avant, RS7, things like that. Obviously those are larger, heavier vehicles. This, by the way, for those that are curious, my curb weight is 4,056 pounds. Not too bad, honestly, for this much power, this much performance. I think it's pretty good. And maybe it's a change with this reduction in sound deadening for this competition model, or maybe it's just my memory on the RS5's just not being quite as good since it was a few years back. But at these lower RPMs here, with the exhaust in its loudest setting, I do hear there's a little bit more of a bassy, slight drone to it than what I'm used to from other Audis. I think that could be this competition model, and, you know, again, just stripping away some of that sound deadening. It's not too bad. Obviously, you can quiet it down or have it somewhere in the middle if you'd like as well. It's great in the upper RPMs, just can get a little boomy in the lower RPM sometimes if I'm being nitpicky here. But when you're buying one of these, you most likely don't care about that. You know, you want all the sound you can get, and I think it does a good job with achieving that mission. And now I'm out on the highway here in the RS5 Sportback, and it's, you know, still totally fine with this competition package. You hear some tire noise for sure, so you got some of that. Probably part of that is just, again, the tire choice here. But yeah, otherwise, you know, even as we're going over some bumps, I mean, it's firm. You know, it's a sporty vehicle, and so you should go into it knowing that, you know. But yeah, I think otherwise it's going to be totally fine. We also have the adaptive cruise control system on, which is finally standard here for 2024 in the Audis. It has the traffic jam assist. That is all standard. The lane keeping assist is also another thing. Audi has a different name for it, but lane keep assist is standard now. You do still have to pay an extra $500 for blind spot monitoring, and strangely that is required with the competition package, which is why with that and the $10,300 price tag of the competition package, the whole thing ends up bumping the price by $10,800. Not sure why you need blind spot monitoring in order to have, you know, all the stiffer stuff, but that's the way that they have packaged it. But Audi doesn't give you all the safety tech still, so you still have to pay extra for a 360 camera, the head-up display, and also the park assist in the rear. And those are nice things to have. If that's worth $1,500 to you, go for it. But it's kind of nice they make that an option, although, again, something this expensive, it would be nice to see it as standard. But otherwise, all the usual safety tech you're expecting is standard here, like the automatic emergency braking and, you know, things like that. And so it's nice though that the Audi is finally giving you all the stuff that should be standard, should have been standard a long time ago, but, you know, is now standard, like that adaptive cruise, which is a really nice thing to have. And as far as how the lane keeping assist performs here in the Audi system, if you're someone who does want that to assist you on the highway, the Audi system is a little more hands-off. It's not quite as assertive with giving you steering assist. It's more so, trying to prevent you from going, off onto the shoulder, but it's really just giving you little nudges more so than like actively steering and helping you steer. So this is a little even, they're all hands-on systems for the most part, but this one especially, isn't going to really do too much helping. It's just basically making sure that you're staying within those lines, and it's pretty relaxed about even doing that. But the last couple things I mentioned here are fuel economy and pricing and how it compares to the competition. So as far as fuel economy goes, these are rated at 18 mpg in the city, 25 on the highway, and 20 combined. And I haven't done a ton of miles here, but in my driving here so far, I've been getting about 17 mpg, which is actually kind of on pace with what I was expecting. I typically get to 1 to 2 mpg less than the city rating in my driving here. So, this is only one less than the city rating. So not too bad, to be totally honest. Again, a vehicle like this, you're buying it for the performance. Fuel economy should not be a concern, but if you're thinking, oh, it's only a 2.9 liter, should be pretty good on gas, not so much. But then the last thing to mention here is the pricing and how it compares to the competition. So as far as pricing goes, these start right around $81,000, and then if you want this competition package, that'll bump you up to, about 91.5 or so. And I think at those price points, it's totally in line with what you see from M3s and M4s, and I think, you have the extra practicality here in this, which, is really great. And the Alfa Romeo Giulia, it's not too much of a competitor these days because they are going away. This is the last year for the Quadrifolios, and so as a result, it's not something I think too many people are really going to be cross-shopping, but it's just awesome that this still continues to be offered, and it continues to have a V6, because the other competitor, the Mercedes C63, has gone down to a 4-cylinder. I'm not even going to bother talking about that as a competitor, because it seems like 0 people are interested in that car now that it dropped the V8 and went to a 4-cylinder. So, I think M3 and M4 is really it. And so as far as those, I can say, if you're interested in the non-competition rear-wheel drive versions, it's great. They still offer a manual on that, as of right now at least. And, I haven't driven those once again, so it's hard for me to compare. I also don't see as many of these as I see of M3s, at least around here. And so I feel like this is kind of the underdog in a way, again, because it's not the top one from a spec standpoint, but I feel like it's just not as popular of a choice as the M3 is. And so, there's that kind of unique factor of having something that stands out a little bit more just by being more rare, even if it is flying under the radar a little bit. I think that it kind of has a unique appeal all its own. And so yeah, overall, I just think the RS5 Sportback is fantastic. I love these. The only other little things I will say is that, in my opinion, like I said earlier, I would probably skip the competition package. As much as I like hearing a little bit of extra sound, regular RS5 was no snooze fest in my opinion. It was still fantastic, and you had a little bit more comfort, and you saved $10,000. For me, I think that I could probably skip this package, to be honest. I love that they offered it, though. I love that they're making this a little more hardcore. I think that that is, going to appeal to a lot of people. But if you're someone who loves the Audi RS models for their duality of having a ton of comfort and a ton of, power and performance, I think, this just bends the needle a little bit over to the performance side, a little less to the luxury side as a result of these coilovers, ever so slightly. Again, not a big deal. I can totally daily drive this car with a smile on my face every day and be totally fine. But, personally, I think I'd say the 10 grand go for the regular RS5, or honestly, the S5 is also a ton of fun. It still gives you a great 6-cylinder sound. It's still a ton of power, and for normal roads, it's going to be plenty fast enough already. I love the S5, so check out that video if you want to hear at the end to hear my thoughts on the S5. That'll give you an even better savings there. It'll still give you that same great sportback practicality, all the other same great interior, everything else, just a little bit less power and performance in that S5, but still such a high bar with that car too that it's I don't think really much of a compromise if you are someone who's trying to penny pinch or trying to see what the best value is. I think that is still a lot of fun per dollar. And the last little observation I'll make is that with these hard shell seats, the seatbelt does like to rattle on that hard plastic of the seat, and you can probably tweak the seatbelt or hopefully just have a passenger with you most of the time or something so that doesn't rattle as much, but that's been rattling a good bit here during my drive. It's the only little thing that I can say I don't love outside of, again, the lack of cooled seats here in this with the Alcantara. But otherwise, yeah, love everything about the RS5 Sportback. But let me know your thoughts on the RS5 Sportback in the comments below. Huge thanks to Audi for providing me here with this vehicle to review for you guys today. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.